Welcome back everyone and a happy new year. This is a Calgary 2023 outlook time and a January real estate market update. In my first market update of the year, I'll be covering what you can expect in a greater Calgary real estate market in 2023. As I mentioned before, the month of December is not a very important month for the real estate related data. It is always a month where the market is in a state of a slowdown and some sort of a reset. But if you just would like to know what happened last month, you will see that total numbers of homes dropped to about 3,100 at the beginning of the month and went all the way down to 2,200, which is a new record low inventory for this time of the year, meaning there is not really a lot to buy out there. You would also see that number of new properties coming to market hit a new yearly low. Just over 1,000 homes came to market. That is really nothing new. It is just what happens every year. And with that, you will also see that it was our slowest sales month of the year. So in December, we recorded just over 1,200 sales. That's the same as we did in 2020, 2013, and 2007. This December ranked as the second best-selling December in our history, only behind the last year crazy unicorn month. So all being said, our sales month was in a good company. This graph represents the residential sale numbers for the last 7 days. You will notice that the number of sold listings exceed the number of new listings coming to the market by far. This has been a trend for over the last several months. And here is where the real estate market update ends, and I'll tell you what I believe is the outlook for 2023. None of these December 2022 stats matter to the 2023 outlook. What matters is how we are positioned as a region going into a new year and our new phase of an annual real estate cycle. January is generally a wake-up month following December. Buyers start looking again, online searches for the houses start to increase, and sellers start to put their homes back on the market if they've taken them off for the holidays, and sellers that choose to wait for a new year to list will do so as the month unfolds. So the question is not what we should expect right now, it is what we should be expecting this year. For this, we need to look outside of regional data and take into account a macro worldwide stuff. It is no secret that our region is still highly linked to ups and downs of the worldwide oil markets. And as a result, we benefited of climbing crude oil price while the world has bustling those last couple of years. We are starting this year with a price in and around $80 a barrel. And looking at the predictions for this year, we are largely expected to remain near this figure, bonding well with our largest employment sector and overall employment health. And speaking of that, Alberta's unemployment is just 5.8%, which is a little bit lower than our long-term average of 6.55% and down nearly 2 full points from this time last year. Now, let's talk about the big elephant in the room driving all markets around the world, our inflation and consumer price index. So the silver lining of the 7 interest rate changes in 2022 is that we are starting to see inflation drop nationwide. As you can see on the graph below, we peaked just around June 2022 at about 8% inflation, and now we are sitting in around 6%. And further to this, you can see here the economic forecast for inflation throughout the balance of 2023. If things go as planned, we will be by the end of this year down to about 3% and then moving into 2s in 2024. Now, I need to pause and understand what all this means for us here in Alberta. What makes up the consumer price index in Canada anyways? Well, here it is. Shelter accounts for 30% of total index weight. The transportation is 17%. Food is 16%, the household operation, furnishing equipment is about 15%, and then lower it goes with things like recreation, education, health, personal care, alcohol, tobacco, and so on. So with the shelter, or other words housing, making up 30% of the index, you can see why the federal government got completely spooked by housing prices in Greater Toronto and Greater Vancouver markets and made a decision to drive up rates of the ground floor. But Alberta is a different case. Our markets did not appreciate over 7 to 8 years in any meaningful way, and so our Alberta-based inflation was not an issue regionally. And yet we had no choice but to get punished by the other speculative markets in other parts of the country. I wanted to share this because more people do not understand the complexity of the inflation and how it works. This may also help to paint the picture of why Alberta continues to be shining light of Canada and a stable place for people and profits to come. Surely, it is about housing affordability as well as economic opportunity, as we have discussed, but there is also more to that. This brings me to another amazing article put out by The Economist this past year. What you will see is that Calgary ranks number 1 on the list of the best places to live in North America. This study does not focus on housing prices as a major indicator. It takes into account everything from culture and environment, crime, infrastructure, healthcare, education, how we handle the pandemic, lifestyle options, and much more. Yes, we won in 2022, but we also topped this list 2 other times in the past decade. Those here in Calgary region know how good we have it, but the world has started to take the notice as well. So this brings me to my final summarizing point to this update. Let's talk about our real estate market for what is coming this year. We have now concluded that interest rates will be held to near where they're right now for the balance of 2023 to ensure that overall Canadian inflation rate comes down to the numbers the Feds are hoping for. Oil prices are predicted to remain close to where they currently are, and just slightly below due to the worldwide recession causing lower demand. Calgary is being seen globally as go-to destination for lifestyle, people, and profits. And if you remember, from the very beginning of this update, I shared our position at the end of this year from December's housing data. The year's lowest numbers of home on the market and continuing buying demand resulted in an equality of second best December month in our city's history. It should be no surprise that the forecast for this year is an increase in our property values once again. Check out the global news story, which predicts the rise of 7% for Calgary's housing price. Or in this Remax housing market outlook stating that we will be in a seller's market for the year, growing our average sale price by nearly $50,000. I can see a case where this forecast could be very wrong, unless they simply projected too low out of the caution for the narrative being awkwardly received against the backdrop of the rest of the world's challenges. So as I said last month, for those of us in Greater Calgary, real estate is by far the safest place to be right now. And if you need to or want to buy, do it with the confidence knowing that this is the cheapest time to do so ever again in our housing market. The sky is not falling, nothing is dropping. The demand wave continues to push in a controlled, economically and fundamentally sound way. So this is it for this month. If you are in a need for some help with your specific real estate situation, please contact me. I would love to be of assistance. Happy 2023.